Norway launched a research rocket. Russia thought it was a nuclear-first strike. The nuclear briefcase was opened. For the first and only time, a Russian president activated the nuclear command system. We missed it by minutes. It's 7 a.m. in Moscow on January 25, 1995. Boris Yeltsin is asleep, and then someone wakes him up with the nuclear briefcase. Not a drill, not a test. The actual Cheget, Russia's nuclear command and control system, the thing that's supposed to authorize the launch of intercontinental ballistic missiles. It's never been activated before. Not during the Cuban Missile Crisis, not during the tense years of Reagan and Brezhnev. This is the first time in history. Yeltsin is told that radar has detected a missile launch from somewhere in the Norwegian Sea. The trajectory matches a U.S. Trident D-5 missile launched from a submarine, high altitude, fast, headed toward Russian territory. The briefcase is open, the clock is running. He has approximately 8 minutes to decide whether Russia is under attack. Here's the part most people don't know. The Cold War ended in 1991. The Soviet Union collapsed. By 1995, people thought this kind of thing couldn't happen anymore. But Russian early warning systems still online, still watching, still paranoid. And here's the thing about submarine-launched missiles. They're the most dangerous kind. They come from close range, they fly high and fast, and because they're launched from the ocean, you don't get much warning. If this is real, it could be a decapitation strike, meaning designed to take out Moscow, the leadership, and Russia's ability to respond before they even know what's happening. That's what Yeltsin is being told. The briefcase is open, his military advisors are in the room, he has to decide.
Let's rewind and talk about what's actually happening. About 900 miles northwest of Moscow, off the coast of Norway, a team of scientists is launching a rocket. It's called Black Brant 12. It's a research rocket, 4 stages, designed to go up into the upper atmosphere to study the aurora borealis, the northern lights. This isn't a secret mission. It's a joint project between Norwegian and American scientists. They've been planning it for months. And here's the key detail. They sent notifications. Norway informed 35 countries about this launch, including Russia. They sent a memo weeks in advance. They even sent a fax the day before to make sure everyone knew. But that fax? It didn't reach the Russian radar operators on duty that night. It didn't reach the people monitoring the early warning system. It got lost somewhere in the bureaucracy of post-Soviet Russia, a country that's barely holding itself together in 1995. Economic collapse, political instability, military systems that are outdated and underfunded. So when the rocket launches at 7 a.m. local time, the Russians have no idea it's coming. Their radar picks it up immediately. The missile is traveling at high speed, high altitude. The trajectory looks exactly like a Trident D-5, the kind of missile the U.S. Navy uses on its Ohio-class submarines. The operators don't see a weather rocket, they see a threat. Within minutes, the information is passed up the chain of command, first to the military, then to the defense ministry, then to the Kremlin. The system is designed to move fast, because in a nuclear scenario, you don't have time to wait. By the time Yeltsin is woken up, the missile has been in the air for about 4 minutes, which means he has maybe 4 or 5 minutes left before it reaches Russian airspace. Think about that for a second. You're the president of Russia. You've just been handed the nuclear briefcase for the first time in history. Your military is telling you this could be a decapitation strike. You have minutes to decide. Do you launch a counterstrike? Do you wait and risk losing the ability to respond?
This is where everything almost breaks. Yeltsin is sitting there with his top military advisors. The briefcase is open. The launch codes are ready. Russian protocol in this situation is pretty clear. If you're under attack, you respond immediately. You don't wait to see if the missile hits, because if it does, you might not be able to retaliate. It's called launch on warning, and it's designed to prevent exactly this scenario, a first strike that wipes out your ability to fight back.
But Yeltsin doesn't give the order. Not yet. He's watching the tracking data. The missile is still climbing. It's moving in a strange pattern for a trident. It's going higher than expected. One of his advisors points this out. If this were a real attack, the missile would be leveling off by now, preparing to descend toward its target. But this one keeps going up. Yeltsin waits. The briefcase stays open. The clock is ticking. And then, about 8 minutes after launch, the missile reaches its peak altitude and falls back down. Not toward Moscow, not toward Russian territory. It falls harmlessly into the ocean near Svalbard. The tension breaks. The radar operators realize what just happened. It's not a trident. It's a research rocket. The briefcase is closed. Here's what makes this so terrifying. This happened in 1995, 4 years after the Cold War supposedly ended. The Soviet Union was gone. The ideological battle was over. People thought the threat of nuclear war had passed. But the system's still active, still paranoid, still operating on Cold War logic. And Russia in 1995 is a mess. The economy is in free fall. The military is underfunded. Communication systems are breaking down. That fax from Norway, it should have been routine. It should have been passed to every relevant operator, but it wasn't. And because of that, the world's largest nuclear arsenal came within minutes of being activated over a weather balloon. Yeltsin later said that if the trajectory had been slightly different, if the missile had appeared to be heading directly for Moscow instead of climbing vertically, he might have launched. Think about that. We came that close, not because of aggression, not because of war, because of a communication failure and a rocket studying the northern lights. The aftermath is almost as disturbing as the event itself. Russia didn't publicize this. The Norwegian scientists had no idea what they triggered until years later. The story didn't become widely known until the early 2000s, when Russian officials started talking about it in interviews. Even today, most people have never heard of the Black Brant incident. It's not taught in schools, it doesn't show up in Cold War documentaries, but people who study nuclear close calls, they rank this as one of the most dangerous moments in history. More dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis in some ways, because in 1962, both sides knew they were in a standoff. They were communicating. They were trying to avoid war. In 1995, there was no communication, just a radar screen, a misunderstanding, and a briefcase. Here's the part that keeps me up at night. After this incident, Russia updated its notification protocols. Norway and other countries made sure their rocket launch notices were being received properly. But the core problem? Still there. Early warning systems are still running on Cold War infrastructure. They're still designed to respond in minutes. They're still vulnerable to false alarms. In 2010, Russia reported another false alarm, this time triggered by a software glitch. In 2018, Hawaii sent out an emergency alert about an incoming ballistic missile. It was a false alarm caused by human error during a drill. These systems are supposed to protect us, but they're also the things most likely to accidentally start the very war they're meant to prevent. And the people operating them? They're human. They get tired, they make mistakes, they misread data. Stanislav Petrov in 1983 didn't trust his computer and saved the world. Boris Yeltsin in 1995 waited just long enough to see the missile wasn't heading for Moscow. But what happens the next time? What happens when the person in that room doesn't hesitate? When the data looks just convincing enough? When the political situation is just tense enough that waiting feels too risky?
We've been lucky. Incredibly, impossibly lucky. The Norwegian rocket incident didn't start a war because Yeltsin waited, because one advisor noticed the trajectory was wrong, because the missile climbed instead of descending. But it almost did. And the scariest part? Most of the world never knew it happened. If you made it this far, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. These near-miss moments don't get talked about enough, and I think they should. Drop a comment and let me know. Had you ever heard of the Black Brant incident before this video? Thanks for watching.
I'll see you in the next one.